Drive Time with Helen Blady. BBC Radio Northampton.
Deeply dismayed. That was the reaction from campaigners living in and around Kingscliff in East Northamptonshire, who've been trying to prevent low-level radioactive waste from being disposed of at a nearby landfill site. Today, the operators of the site, Augean, said that deliveries of the waste began before Christmas. The legal battle against the waste will continue later this month at the Court of Appeal in London. In a moment, we'll hear from Augean, but first, our East Northamptonshire reporter, Martin Borley, has been talking to one of the campaigners, Chris Lucas, from Kingscliff Waste Watchers.
We're obviously very disappointed, but we're not surprised because it was always on the cards. What we are surprised about is that it should happen at this moment with the legal process still ongoing. And it seems rather strange to actually take this action, which might later be deemed illegal and might result in them having to take waste out of the site. And we've really no idea how they're going to accomplish that.
It is legal at the moment, though. They're allowed to put this waste there. They have permission for that, don't they?
Well, there's two ways of looking at it. They have permission from the Secretary of State, but the legal process is still ongoing, so the courts haven't given them the final go-ahead. So as far as we're concerned, it seems strange they should not wait until that matter is decided in the middle of January.
3 deliveries have so far been made to the site near Kingscliff. Is there anything you can do apart from the legal action to stop those? You've tried in the past by mounting a blockade. That didn't last long. Is there anything more you can do practically like that?
In terms of actually stopping the lorries, there's very little that we can do. What we are doing, however, is on Saturday we're having a mass demonstration in the village in which we're inviting everyone from villages around to show their disagreement and their disgust, if you like, with what is going on up at the dump, especially the fact that the company has taken so little notice of the local democratic processes and also the will of the community. And they say that they've been informing the community of what's going on. They haven't actually been listening to the community. And so this is a way of us showing that the problem is not over, it's not dead as far as we're concerned, and it is ongoing, and that the people of this area very much resent being made the dumping ground for this material.
Chris Lucas of Kingscliff Waste Watchers talking to Martin Borley. Well, Dr. Jean Wilson is the Group Technical Director for Augean. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Helen.
The first delivery of this low-level radioactive waste then took place before Christmas, the 21st of December. Just explain what this stuff is, if you would, please.
Okay. The sorts of waste that we will be taking is essentially decommissioning waste from the nuclear power stations. It has a very slight contamination of radiation. The waste we've taken so far includes other sources such as potentially manufacturing, hospitals and so on. And the particular waste was watchmaker powder, in fact, which is used for luminous dials, and some contaminated land from an old flint making factory.
Chris Lucas there from Kingscliff Waste Watchers saying that you haven't listened to the concerns of local residents. What would you say to him?
Well, we are concerned that the community still has worries about the proposals. We spent a lot of time talking to them, explaining to them. There's still a lot of misunderstanding. But, as has been made clear by the Secretary of State, the community concern has to be balanced against the national importance of the proposals. There is an urgent need for the disposal capacity for significant volumes of slightly contaminated construction material from the decommissioning of our power stations and from materials from hospitals, manufacturing and the oil and gas industry.
Can you understand their concerns, though? Because when you start hearing words like nuclear, radioactive, they are words that make the hair stand up on the back of your neck, aren't they?
And I am not surprised at all, and that is one of the key issues in terms of communicating to people and getting them to understand what the proposals are about. Unfortunately, there is misinformation about the proposals. They are for a very low level of radiation. The effects of the proposals would result in activity at our site boundary less than 1% of what we're actually exposed to from the natural environment every day.
Now, the residents of Kingscliff, their legal action hasn't finished yet, so why start deliveries now?
Well, just to put this in context, the campaigners have challenged the Secretary of State's decision on a narrow point of law, which has been considered by the High Court and dismissed. The campaigners are now seeking to challenge the High Court decision. Now, out of respect for the community and the judicial process, we voluntarily did not implement the permission during the initial challenge process, which is over 6 months. When the appeal against the High Court was granted, we indicated that we were no longer prepared to hold off importation, Now, that was particularly because the appeal process could be a protracted one. The campaigners requested an injunction, but the court has determined that it should not stop the implementation of this important permission.
There is a chance, there's always a chance, that at the Court of Appeal they'll say that the waste shouldn't be dumped at Kingscliff. If they do say that, are you going to have to dig it back up again?
Well, it is possible to dig it back up again if it is necessary to do so, but that is extremely unlikely. We have to recognise that if the appeal goes against the Secretary of State, then the Secretary of State has to redetermine the planning permission. Now, given that the challenge was on a narrow point of law and not on grounds of safety or planning merit, it is highly likely he will reapprove the proposals.
I'm guessing that Augean are not new boys at this. You really do know what you're doing.
Well, absolutely, and we've spent a lot of time ensuring that our people are fully prepared to accept the waste. There are extensive procedures. Our people are already very experienced at accepting hazardous waste. The site has been here for over 10 years. The procedures are very similar. However, we have subjected them to additional training. No waste comes to this site unless it's fully characterised or analysed. It is a specialist landfill. That is what we do all the time, and this is similar for LLW. All of the LLW will be detested on arrival and monitored and as it is placed into the landfill. And all the waste comes in steel drums or specially engineered double-lined bags.
And where exactly does this waste come from? I mean, do you have to cart it halfway across the country to get it to Kingscliff?
Well, because we are one of the very few sites that can accept the waste, it does have to come significant distances. And that is one of the key factors that has been considered when the planning inquiry that took place to consider the proposals took place in November.
The local waste watchers are saying they're planning a demonstration on Saturday. I mean, they're obviously not going to give up here. Is there still room for negotiation?
We're always prepared to talk to people, always prepared to discuss how the proposals are undertaken. There is a serious number of people in the community who are saying to us, well, we just want you to get on with it now. I appreciate there is still a significant number of people who don't want the proposals and are still expressing their concern.
Dr. Jean Wilson, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
That's Dr. Jean Wilson, who's Group Technical Director for Augean. It's coming up to 5:15. The news headlines from BBC Radio Northampton. As you've just been hearing, low-level radioactive waste has now started being delivered at a landfill site near Kingscliff.